Okay, so here in 1.6 I want to do complex numbers and I want to simplify. So say I have the square root of negative 12. Now up to this point, when I have the square root of a negative number, that's a no-go because there's no real numbers I can multiply together that give me a negative number, all right? But we've got this little negative number in here, and so we've got to do complex numbers, all right? So this is where we're going to incorporate I. Okay, so we're going to use the fact that the square root of negative 1 is defined to be I. This helps us with our imaginary number system. Okay, so I've got a negative in here. First thing I got to do, make sure I take care of that I. A negative inside a square root, the I comes out first before I do anything. All right, so that's the first thing I always do. Okay, so pull the I out first. Now I can go back to my old way of doing things. I've got a 12 in here. 12 factors to 4 times 3, and then 2 times 2. So this is really 2 squared times 3. Now to get out of the house with the square root, I need a copy of itself. So 2 squared, so 1, 2 comes out. And I have a 2i, and then this 3, there's only 1, so that one stays inside the radical. Okay, so here's my simplified answer right there. Now, say we want to add or subtract. Okay, say you want to add or subtract. So say you've got something like 4 minus 2i, and then minus 3 plus I. Okay? This first part, this is my real part. The second part here, this is my complex part. Okay, so that's my complex part. The part with the I, this is the imaginary part going on here. Now, I want to collect my real parts and my complex parts, okay? So what's real here? Well, I need to simplify, distribute this negative. So the negative with the positive makes a negative 3, and the negative with the positive I makes a negative I. Okay, so I have 4i, or 4 minus 2i, minus 3 minus I. All right, so I have a 4 and a negative 3 combined to make 1. And then I have a negative 2i and a negative I makes negative 3i. So here is my answer right there. Okay? Let's do multiplication. So with multiplication, 4 minus I times 2 plus I. Okay? Two binomials multiplied together, we got to use the FOIL technique. First, the double distribute. 4 times 2 is 8. Outer, 4 times I is 4i. Inner, negative I times 2 is negative 2i. And last, so negative I times I. All right. With this right here, I've got an 8. I can combine these two here. 4i minus 2i is just 2i. And then negative I times a positive I. That's negative I squared. Okay, you might think you're done here, but let's think about what I equals. I is the square root of negative 1. So I squared, this is negative 1. But negative 1 makes a plus, okay? So we have to be careful. So this is 8 plus 2i plus 1. All right? So combine my real parts now. I have 9 plus 2i. 9 plus 2i. Ooh, yikes, right? Okay. One more problem just to make sure that we got it. 7 minus 3i all squared, okay? All right, this one's a little bit tricky, but look, When in doubt, write it out. What does that 2 tell me to do? It tells me to write what's, under this finger twice. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to write it out twice. Okay? So make sure you write it out. When in doubt, write it out. Now, 7 times 7, that's 49. 7 times negative 3i, that's negative 21i. Negative 3 times 7, okay, so negative 3i times 7 is negative 21i. And negative 3i times negative 3i. Ooh, man, what's going on there? That's negative and negative make a positive. That's 9i squared, okay? So this is 49. When I combine these two, negative 21 and negative 21 makes negative 42i, I think. What can I do with this? That I squared makes a negative 1. Negative 1 times 9. Negative 1 times 9 is negative 9. So I have 49 minus 42i minus 9. I can combine these two, and what do I get? I get 40 minus 42i. Okay, so in Hawks, maybe the answer is like this. It has a box, and then a plus, and another box, and then an I. How would you put your answer in? You put a little 40 in here, and then you put a little 42 in there. Okay, and then hit enter, and you got it. All right, guys.